So ladies and gentlemen, as we move into our next session, which is a panel discussion, let's turn our attention to the enduring strength of traditional business practices. Our next discussion, Dhanda through generations, is going to delve into the wisdom and resilience of legacy business models. Showcasing how time-honored Dhanda continues to drive success in today's dynamic market, our discussion will highlight real-world strategies that blend age-old wisdom with contemporary innovation. It's my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, as the stage is set, to invite our eminent panelists to the stage. Let's start off with our moderator for the session, Mahavir Lunawat, founder and managing director of Pantomath Financial Services Group. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear you make some noise. Keep that applause going for each of our panelists as they join us on stage. Let's have another round of applause, please, for Ankit Maini, Managing Director of Veira Group. Mayank Beria, Director at Millennium Babycares Limited. Let's hear some applause, ladies and gentlemen. Hemant Kabra, Founder and Managing Director, BGauss Electric. And Dr. Shreeram Iyer, Chairman and Group CEO of Prisma AI Corporation. A round of applause to welcome Dr. Iyer to the stage. Mr. Lunawat, I'm going to hand the stage over to you, sir.
It's very challenging to have panel discussion after what we heard from Mr. Pai. And I'm sure all of us are excited, more excited rather. And some of the value systems, some of the messaging what we have received, I think I can directly correlate with this panel. Friends, I am having a very, very fantastic panel, an exemplary panel of true careers of Make in India, I would say. The Gen Z promoters, entrepreneurs who are actually contributing to the nation building. I have a great panel comprising diverse industries. The people who have actually built their businesses, people who are building societies and contributing to environment. And I cannot stop myself but to boast that we have invested in all of them. So thank you, gentlemen, for giving that opportunity to participate in your vision, sharing your vision, and making part of your growth journey. Friends, we have indeed a very, very unique composition here. I'll start from my extreme left, Dr. Shreeram Iyer, who's Chairman and Group CEO of world's largest AI company based out of India, called Prisma AI Corporation. And I think I will start with the note, with the assumption, which I think most of us carry, that when we have to build something new, when we have to compete with Western world, in area like AI, it has to basically wait for a time till we become profitable. It has to have the burn necessary to build the organization. It has to have capital to build something formidable and meaningful. Friends, I think defying all these assumptions is the man himself, Dr. Iyer, who have built not only India or Asia, but world's largest AI-based corporation. And you'll be very happy to note that a company based out of Mumbai, its latest turnover of last year's turnover or revenue is more than $125 million. Profitable, zero debt company, completely bootstrapped. Until recently, we have very minor round of capitalization that's more of taking company forward in terms of governance and making that experience. It's a torchbearer for a lot of us that how we can build a sustainable and profitable business without burning capital. Dr. Iyer, my question to you is, when there are a lot of buzz about building something. We have been listening to AI since yesterday in this conference, and one of the focus areas of government, we have had a lot of policy making discussions around that. And immediate assumption is that we need a lot of capital, we need a lot of people, and probably it's not that easy to build a business like what you have built. So I'll right away like to start with your success mantra in terms of how you have been profitable, bootstrapped, and built the world's one of the largest AI company based out of Mumbai, India.
Thanks, Mahavir. Good morning, everybody. I think so. After Mr. Pai and Ranu talking about it, there's a lot of things happening around, for sure. The thought process here pertaining to what we built, what Prisma was built in, to just a little more correction, we're probably one of the largest computer vision-based AI company here. Now, AI, there are a lot of chat GPTs, there are DeepSeek coming in around, but we are talking about cognitive vision here. When you're talking about cognitive vision, we talk about cameras being intelligent, and that's exactly what we do globally. So right from airports or aviation industries in Changi, Malaysia, Dubai, Schiphol, LAX, and so on and so forth, are using our technology for what they're doing in terms right from recognition of objects to images to faces, or even airports like India, wherein I'm happy to say that Adanis were one of those to come in around getting an activity pertaining to humanness of AI, wherein they wanted cameras to be intelligent enough to understand if a human beings who want support, who has crutches, or people, females who are pregnant, or somebody needs support there, the camera is intelligent enough to give you a support system there. So that's where the thought process came in around. This started probably when I was a part of Patni's, and there was a company based in Germany called Prisma GmbH. Prisma probably was a German company in 1981. They did a lot of business intelligence during those days. And after Patni's, probably Avendus, Ranu would know sometime, but that we were acquired by iGates, and Avendus was one of those investment bankers who got into it. But post that, I have few shares of Patni's, and we sold all of them and acquired Prisma GmbH stock and barrel. So Indian company acquiring a German entity was the first initiation which I did, because they were very small in revenue. They didn't know what scalability could do for the product which was built by Patnis for them. So that was the initiation which came in around, and that was the pedigree which we come across. So that was the first thought process of image recognition coming in. As we talk today, using the innovations, the use cases we built across an over period of time, we didn't wanted investments, we wanted right kind of businesses that could use us. So that creates a use cases for us, and that became our pedigree of investment thought process, wherein we invested in right kind of use case into the companies, into the end customers, and that gave us a lot of, I understand there's a lot of bootstrap activity happening during that time. As Mr. Pai was saying, there were impediments coming in the systems around. There were people we need to work on. We need to get payment at right times on. But that every entrepreneur goes through that journey on. And if you have strong willingness towards your product, not at overconfident, strong to building up a product more efficient to the system, it took us a decade right now. It's been a decade right now. I started in 2013. It's 2025 as we talk. We've been gaining what we gain right from a typical image recognition company, which we bought up. We are a complete computer vision company, which not only takes images, but takes faces, objects, images, sentiments, emotions, so on and so forth. So those IPs which are built in across was built in here during those phases. So my generational aspect would be to focus on business requirements, focus on use cases which could be done by AI, and build over it is the right way to do it according to us, what we did. And I'm happy to say we are successful in what we are doing kind of stuff. That's a bit of from my end.
Big compliments to you. Moving on, sitting next is a very unique persona, Hemant Kabra. Friends, we have often come across traditional groups who have created their legacy, but when it comes to taking forward that legacy and navigating through the business dynamism and changing, patterns of society and business ecosystem, we've often seen those groups struggling big time. But here is a case study, and we are very pleased to have Hemant on this panel. Hemant is probably third generation from a group called RR Group. So we have RR Cable and a host of companies that went public out of the group, doing very good in wires, cables, and conductivity solutions. Hemant has not only navigating those businesses, leading from the front, taking family legacy forward, but he has also built India's new age EV two-wheeler brand, which is now amongst top 7 brands in India. So Hemant, you have twofold, objectives of taking your legacy forward in a meaningful way and, taking the business to the next level. And also, you have kind of migrated to new age business, and that also in very short time, it's figuring, in top 7. So your take on how you are, what are the challenges that you face taking over or working with the earlier generation and navigating through your vision and future aspirations?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Uh, Being a part of a corporate group, you are just a small part of it, okay? Because your family is running it, they are the founders, and you specialize in few fields, and you are responsible for only few things, and your learning curves are a little higher. But the good part is that you get exposure towards the numbers, how businesses are built, how things are shaping up, how teams are being run around, the business models, everything. So we get a great exposure to it. Starting a new field was extremely challenging. Okay, it was not easy. Because the most important thing was coming out of that comfort zone. Okay, because you're so comfortably sitting in that space where the group is earning a lot of capital, you're relaxed, much more team is set, you're relaxed on most of the time, you're just reviewing and giving targets to the national heads or the CEOs saying that this is the target, how do we achieve it? We focus more on balance sheet rather than the P&L when we go into the legacy companies. But when you sit on this chair, there are other people who are giving you to the targets. You are running it. You have to make sure that you have that very strong sense of how to build a business around it. So these are two different things altogether. There you give target, here you take target. Right? So, sitting on both sides gives me a lot of understanding now, while giving target as well, saying that, boss, what is possible, what is not possible. Okay. So that was something which is very, very important and very big change for me coming out of that comfort zone. The only thing which I have taken few things very common from the group to the new start age world is the culture. Okay. We kept very few basic things of the group as common, like HR policies, how do we behave, the way our accounting standards has to be. So all those hygienes we have taken from a group companies and see that we are incorporated in the startup. But yeah, it's a different challenge and it's an exciting challenge.
That's great, Hemant. Moving on, we have Mayank Beria, who's again new generation entrepreneur making impact in baby care products. They are India's one of the top 5 baby care products. And on one side, we have MNCs and large corporations coming and grabbing the market in that competitive world, becoming top 5 brands in a very short time. Very importantly, they are one of the very few companies, or rather the first company in India to develop and manufacture plant-based diapers for countries leading FMCG group. So my compliments to you. One of the points what I thought I must touch upon is transition and succession, where we have the first generation coming and establishing business. But with time, I think there are a lot of new systems, processes, innovation areas which probably are required. So have you found any kind of conflict working with your early generation and navigating through some of these new age practices and innovation that's required in your stream of business?
So good morning, everyone, and thank you, Mahavir sir, for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this. So, like Hemant said, that becoming a part of being a part of a larger organization wherein you hold a very small part in the day-to-day running. So that is when, so I come from a textile background, a traditional textile background, where we are into more of processing of traditional Indian cloths. When I got back after my education, so that is where I saw the gap in the technical textiles industry and decided to venture into baby diapers. Currently, baby diapers, when we entered in the industry, it was still something that was purely dominated by the three multinationals, which were none of them were Indian. And Indian footprint was barely present in that area. So being a new entrant in an industry which is completely untapped by Indian manufacturers did come with its own set of challenges, wherein the previous working style of the family business had to be adapted but also needed to be unlearned. Copying that exact same traditional style wherein it was a completely people-managed business. It used to be run on the gut feeling of the promoters. That was something that could not simply be carried forward. So once I got into the business, once I started seeing the expectation of the Indian customers, Indian market, we decided to adapt various new age technologies. So like Shreeram sir's AI platform. AI is something that we have been trying to inculcate in our business for some time now, especially for demand forecasting and procurement. So that's one thing that had never been thought upon in our business, in our 35-year-old family business, because of course that is a completely new thing. Same way, innovation, if I talk about, is something that I still feel was less present in the Indian landscape 5 years back. So we are the first Indian company to have invested in a Japanese line, wherein Japanese line to manufacture baby diapers. So people generally feel that what is a diaper? It's a 10 rupees underwear for babies. But that's not the fact. Diapers is one of the most complicated product to manufacture at a 10 rupees MRP. 1,000 diapers being manufactured per minute in a 500-ton machine. So it's a very complicated process wherein every day some or the other new kind of innovation is required to ensure that your customer, who is a baby, who is not able to speak or talk to anyone, not complain. So you need to ensure that what you provide to that customer is something that will give them the comfort and give the parents the confidence on your product and your brand. So that is where I feel that innovation and R&D has taken a very strong step in helping us reach wherever we are at this point of time. Thank you.
Compliments, Mayank. It's very rare for a technical textile person to talk about AI, and that's where probably where you are today in terms of your business. So moving on, I think extremely competitive industry, Ankit, where you have inherited and taking business forward. And in fact, in the morning, we were having some discussion in the speaker's lounge, along with some ministry delegates. And the immediate response was that, ki India mein bhi TV banta hai kya? So not only India mein TV banta hai, here is a person who is the largest television ODM manufacturers in India. And very importantly, they're the first one and one of the very few, probably one or two in India, who have a very advanced software tie-up association with Samsung and a lot of other features, systems they have. So Ankit, I think I have to kind of, cover a very important, theme of legacy, heritage, and growth. So, and there are a lot of brands, whether in OEM or in, brand play of consumer appliances and electronics, which is in fact one of the focus areas as well. So I think you represent a very, very important areas from an overall ecosystem point of view where India is looking forward for having that, self-sufficiency in consumer electronics space. But at the same time, there are a lot of casualties that have happened. There are a lot of blew up that have happened to carry forward the earlier panel's discussion. So what kind of challenges you have faced? What learnings you have had from those industry failures? And how you are taking forward your legacy and building the next generation business in ODM space?
So thanks, Mahavir, and good morning, everyone. We built up this company, though I am a second generation entrepreneur, and my father is the one who started this. I remember we were a very small company when I was growing up. like Mahavir just said, a lot of challenges in the overall Indian ecosystem in electronics manufacturing. There was a time when we were just, hardly I would call assemblers. We would probably just import and fix a few screws and sell the product. And cut to today, I think a lot has happened in the last 15 years, thanks to the government and the policies. And even I would believe that the new age entrepreneurs who want to do scale up and do things right. I feel more than what has happened in the last 15 years, the next 5 to 10 years are even more important. You will see a lot of semiconductors, a lot of fabs coming into India, a lot of localization. The first step has already happened. We being, one of the examples, we manufacture the television, except for the open cell. I think everything is manufactured in-house. To answer your question, the challenges we faced, first was the ecosystem development. I think that was a very big challenge. There were no suppliers available. We had to travel and we had to train and educate. And then there was a workforce development that had to take place. That took its time. Now that we are at that stage, I feel the next big leap is going to be coming from the component level manufacturing. And the next 5 years look very, very exciting and interesting. Once the semiconductor ecosystem kind of develops in India, there is a huge opportunity coming our way in the electronics segment where we can be net exporters and we can feed to a much larger audience. And just this morning, I was talking to Dr. Shreeram, how we can make televisions, integrate televisions with not only hardware, but also software, because that's, one of India's strength. How can we make a television AI specific? How can we make that AI lifestyle oriented? How can I say that, if I'm going to the washroom, my favorite TV show should just pause automatically? How can we do things which are so exciting that there's a radical shift, there's a huge shift in how consumer, experiences the product. I feel the next 5 years is going to be very exciting for that. And I think the bus has started to roll, so we'll be in a much better position in the next 5 years.
Congratulations, Ankit, and we have a lot of hope with you being at the helm of Veira Group. I'll take up the next round of questions starting from you in terms of, before we talk of, success, let me touch upon failure, because I feel that if we understand the failure and if we are future ready to overcome challenges and mitigate our risk, I think that's probably one of the first, step, very important step when we talk of Dhanda first and navigating businesses through generations. So what is that one failure that you have observed, whether as part of your legacy or understanding from your fellow entrepreneurs, and what step you have taken to overcome that particular parameter of failure?
That's a very, very good question. And, for me, personally, for my business, we were ODMs. And I think one big failure that we did was being ahead of times. We did not understand that as ODMs, we don't have the power to market a product. The big brands kind of do the marketing. And we are the ones, behind the scenes. And if the big brand is not ready to market a product or launch a product, you can launch the best product in the market, it will not work for you. So for me, we developed this technology which was completely AI-based about 2 years ago. And that was too complicated, I feel, for the Indian market. I think there's demand coming in now. So being too early also in the technology industry, I feel, can be, it has its negatives also. So that was one failure I faced just recently that I'm sharing with you.
So moving on, Mayank, so you are part of a very competitive industry. And there have been very, tough surface for textile industry. But we are very glad that you had navigated from a kind of traditional textile business and keeping the same ethos, the same ecosystem of the industry, you have navigated to a business which is more value-adding, which is more profitable, and which has a brand recall as well. So in that context, I think there have been a lot of brand product recall problems in your kind of industry. So if I have to generalize, in terms of customer satisfaction, in terms of product recall, in terms of product failures and successes. What are that key one or two areas where you have experienced, and what are the steps that you have overtaken, basically taken to overcome? Because I feel that if we have that product quality and, measures to have that product success, I think half of the problems are solved.
Thank you, sir, for the question. So it's a very valid point in the consumer space wherein companies do suffer with product recall, and that is, of course, one of the most expensive and worst thing that can happen in the journey of a brand. So when I entered into the business, one thing that my dad, like we come from a traditional Marwadi family, so one thing that my dad told me on day one was prepare yourself for the worst that can happen to you in your business. And that is when I understood that yes, product recall or product failure in the market is definitely one of the riskiest thing. And for that, we tried to inculcate a culture in our organization in such a way that from the first stage of production to the last stage of distribution to the consumer usage, everything needs to be established, every process needs to be established in such a robust way that that product recall happening comes unless every process has failed you. So thankfully, until this date, in our past 10 years of experience in this industry, we have never had to face a product recall. But from the first year, we had established the entire ecosystem if in case such a scenario arises. So how do we really maintain or ensure that such a thing does not have to happen is from the moment the raw material enters in our factory, there's a quarantine area where the quality approves every single part of every single raw materials. We use about 30 odd raw materials in the manufacturing of a single diaper. Then in our machinery, so our machines run at 1,000 diapers per minute. So it is impossible for a human eye to catch every defect. So we have, like in every machine, we have got 15 vision system cameras, high-speed vision system cameras, which ensure that any kind of defect should not pass to the final product, because ultimately we work on 1 or 2 margin tolerances. Some difference in the product, and you might end up with product leakage or customer unsatisfaction. We have online checks and offline quality lab checks that ensure that something that the machine might have missed should still not go ahead to the end user. Added to that, we have terminal inspection, we have pre-dispatch inspection. So multiple level of checks are out there in place to ensure such a thing does not happen. In addition to that, we also review and study every single consumer feedbacks and reviews that we hear on our e-com channels or through our offline market channels or from our OEM customers like Piramal, Dabur, Himalaya, Kiko, for whom we are exclusive manufacturers. So we take all the customer feedbacks and reviews very seriously and try to ensure that the product that we make won't have to suffer any such kind of a thing. But of course, that being said, we have put up every system and SOP in place in the worst case scenario that we even have to face a product recall from the market.
Sure. I think all of you are in process of preparing for going public, and very happy to be part of that journey. And one of the very important areas what we see as, kind of being on the sell side or investment banking or even working very closely with public funds is the focus on bottom line. And in fact, even the regulators have becoming more and more sensitive of sustenance on roadmap to profitability. And I'm kind of talk about e-commerce, quick commerce. And recently we had a couple of discussions with our portfolio companies, and they are actually now going back to offline sales and building that offline portion because they believe that one can never make profits being partner to online commerce. So that's more as a brand recall, but if you have to have profitable, fast-growing business, you have to have an offline presence. So in that context, what's your take in terms of how technology can basically make the revenue metrics robust the distribution metrics more wider, and yet not being vulnerable to the terms of the larger platforms of e-commerce?
My 1 cent to a dollar here would be understanding the business by itself, understanding the custom preview. So if you're talking about profitability, getting right from offline to online or online to offline, online is predominantly to the masses there, and you're not reaching the end customer directly, not knowing the customer. But when you're going offline, you are to the end customer. You understand the pulse of the customer, and that gives you more and more farming aspect. So when you say offline, I am to the customer, to the direct customer through partners or to yourself from your team. And when you go there, you know what the customer needs and what more can be done there. It is not just predominantly online. Online is one product given to them at closest revenue there. But when you go to an online customer, an offline customer, the customer's pedigree, you know about it. What is they need in nuances, what you need in is not there. They have some impediments in their existence, the lacunas in their existence systems. That could be your case study more to work on the use cases and give them more services and product relevant to you, or create more innovations into your systems to give that vulnerability on. For example, you go to an end customer, offline you have sold a diaper, just taking your name if that's okay with you. Now, when you go to an online sale is done, and when it was done to him, he got his product, he's done. But what he really wants, probably something else. You're done an organic one. Probably he needs a different size. He needs a different color. He needs a different fragrance. I wouldn't know that. But there's a partner that who's selling it offline to him, or your team sells it to him. He understands. Dude, I mean, this is a technology beautiful. It's been sellable. It's been sold in tons. But this is a second sector which needs only for a specific smell, or it could be for animal. I wouldn't know. So there is a nuances that you can do there. There is a next sector that comes in, and that's an innovation you will look into, and that could be a sector that you get into a specific of that model and create revenues for you. So creating new revenues, new aspects, and farming a end customer would be more crucial if it's going to be offline. That's where I come from.
So my next question to you, I think a quick round of question, because we have probably another 5 minutes to go before we conclude, is basically that I will be doing injustice if I don't take your inputs on the AI, because we are talking a lot of things on AI. But I really would like you to speak probably a few seconds on, like when we talk of AI, the impression comes is like very high level, something very innovative. But how you think that at ground level we can make use of AI? How Mayank can make use of AI in his inventory management, or how Hemant can make use of AI in his product excellence, or Ankit spoke of having AI in his product. So what are those, how do we approach AI as a first step? Because I think we have to go a long way to adopt AI and technology. So what's your take for Indian entrepreneurs, whether as part of new age ecosystem or traditional businesses?
Mahavirji, my sense of thought process, we right now are looking at AI as a tool. It has to be a collaboration between AI and human beings. That's how it should be. If that happens, then we are talking about what you're talking about, AI-centric activity. I'm sure the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas are getting into it. But in terms of those millennials or Gen Xs like us who are there, look at it as a tool. They're a little worried about the vulnerability of the data right now, the privacy of data. I agree that. But when you talk about generations to come in, when we are talking about that happening right now in these specific case studies, what will happen is, as you're using Google Maps, as you're using internets, as you're using smartphones, that is how AI would be used in futures. And when that happens around, using in platforms in probably industries like diapers or cable management or EVs so what we do is, right from inventory management, we started in BMW, just to give you an examples around, to create an apple-to-apple comparison. We started this AI matrix to BMW in Stuttgart a few years ago in Bavaria Motor Works, wherein we started mapping their parts to the inventory system, wherein now a typical iPhone or an iPad, the first generation could just map those parts to their inventory system. So no skilled guy has to be required to say this goes into path 21. The iPad itself says it across. So that's the initial inculcation of putting inventory management to systems of understanding objects. It could be pilferage management. It could be adultery management. It could be even understanding the quality, is what you're saying about getting the quality done right kind of aspects on. It could be surveillances pertaining to is there is going to be some kind of just somebody's loitering around or somebody's doing right kind of work. It could be healthcare protection. Somebody's fallen on the floor. He shouldn't go there. Those kind of nuances have to be a part of the system. So when every aspect of data that comes as part of data on numbers, data on word, data on camera, data on hearing, all that parameters get into a system, collaborates with human beings and gives you a decision science. That's how it could work around. That's my view of it.
Sure. So my last question to both of you, I like to pose a common question to both Hemant and Mayank, because both of you are in brand building and you have kind of transformed yourself from a traditional business, B2B business, to a brand building, and in a very short period of time you have built a brand. And in India, it's like very difficult to build the brand in the time frame what you have done. So your individual take on brand building, that what kind of measures, what kind of parameters one must take to build a brand that sustains over a period of time.
It's a tough to build a brand in India, as rightly said, and that too in a crowded space like this where the legacy players are very strong. You need to have 2-3 things if you can build up that. One is you need to have certain USPs in your product. That's one. Second is, don't be under the pressure to cut your price and make a sale. If you do that, then your positioning goes down. Once your positioning goes down, then it's very difficult to come back. And there is always a fight between a sales team and the team out here that why we can't sell at that price. But we said that we have to make our positioning there. We need to hold our nerves very, very strongly there and see that how we. So positioning is very important while you're making a brand. And then you need to do a lot of legwork and then top up with the ATL. ATL does not make brand. ATL with legwork will make brand. That's my look at it.
So thank you, Hemant. So I think I do agree with what Hemant said. And added to that, building a brand requires immense level of patience. It takes years and years to really build a mark of your product, of your brand in the crowded space that India is. Of course, like being in diapers, in a country with 150 crore people, the world is at your footsteps with so many people, with 2.5 crore babies being born per year. But then ultimately, what is the real penetration of diapers in the Indian market? It's less than 20% that is there. So even with such a huge population, there's a very vast untapped market that stays out there. Now to about a brand, when we entered the industry, 97% of the market was taken up by just 3 companies in India, 3 multinationals. Right now it has come down to 85%, wherein we hold around 4.5% of market share. But brand building ultimately needs, one thing that I've learned from a really good mentor of mine is, you need a good product and an outstanding marketing to really put up a mark of your product in the industry. You can't compromise on the quality, but you can't be giving a product which gives all the features of the world, but the user can't afford it. So you need to identify your correct positioning. You need to identify your current target audience, and then focus that time to really make your brand, and of course, be patient until you get there.
So Ankit, last question for you, and you are on the other side where you have to manufacture for, or you are manufacturing for brands, and often big brands squeeze the margins. They have their own terms. So the businesses which are in, let's say, working with brands as back end, as the heart and brain of the brands, how do you sort of, what are your guidance factors to kind of build the business at the same time ring fence your manufacturing or in the respective business areas?
So I think one thing I've learned over time is to develop products which are not Me Too in nature. So develop products that are different, that will be, that the brand would want rather than you have to go and sell. So always I'll always up your game in product building and spend on manufacturing. Have the most efficient manufacturing setups. Control your costs because end of the day you are ODM manufacturer, so you will have to control costs somewhere. But keep innovating, keep giving the market something new, something that the customer is looking for at all times. And if you do that, find those gaps in the market and develop products accordingly. If you do that, then you can always protect your margins.
I think I have learnt a lot, and I am definitely going to imbibe some of the golden words spoken by first-hand, heroes of India. Cut costs, focus on your gross margins, compete on quality, not on price, and have the technology and AI as part of your, the day-to-day business. I think these are some of the principles, and of course, I have jotted down a lot of points. I request TiE team to probably circulate the summary. I think this is a fantastic discussion. I wish I had more time, but I think a lot of learnings, and I'm sure we will continue to have this discussion on this platform. Such a fantastic galaxy of trailblazers and who not only honored the legacy but also infused your respective businesses with fresh perspectives, innovation, ideas, forward-looking approach. Compliments to you, gentlemen, and all the very best to your rocking journey to public and beyond. And I'm sure all of us will be a huge, huge beneficiary of your growth journey. You are proud heroes of Make in India campaign, and I'm sure your endeavors will strengthen the nation building process by entrepreneurship skills. Thank you very much, and over to TiE team for conclusion of this session.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a thunderous round of applause, please, for each of our panelists for their keen insights. And I'd like to request Mr. Lunawat to please present our panelists with a token of appreciation. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, please, for our panelists one more time. A big thank you to Mr. Ankit Maini, Mr. Mayank Beria, Mr. Hemant Kabra, Dr. Shreeram Iyer, and of course, our moderator for this very enlightening panel, Mr. Mahavir Lunawat. Thank you once again, gentlemen, for bridging traditional and modern insights. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep that applause going. Thank you one more time, gentlemen. If we could please get a group photograph. Thank you once again, gentlemen. That was a very, very interesting discussion.